A policeman whose life collapsed in an instant. His family is brutally murdered and he, on the verge of madness, throws himself into the abyss of a place where every shot is a cry of his pain. A scientist who just wanted to work in peace, but found himself in the center of a disaster. A secret laboratory turns into a battlefield with aliens, and now the salvation of the world is on his shoulders. A man crushed by grief receives a letter from his wife, who died long ago, and goes to a foggy city, where answers or nightmares await him. All these stories are plots of those games that, by the standards accepted in the gaming community, are backward and inferior. Because we are talking about linear games where there is no choice. Forks are additional ways to pass, only one road, directly. On this topic we could finish, if not for the fact that these games sold millions of copies and eventually became hits. Max Payne showed that a linear shooter could be more than just a run and gun, like Doom and Quake, but a national experience with a cinematic style. It inspired projects like Lanoir and The Last of Us to focus on narrative. Half-Life changed the shooter game and became a revolution, inspiring games like Portal, Dead Space, Call of Duty, the Halo series, BioShock, and of course, spawned the Counter-Strike mod, which later became the piece of shit you know today: trolling, fuck, shut the fuck up, bitch. Silent Hill 2 proved that games can do it. To be an art that explores human fears and emotions, and I will not be afraid to say that it influenced every horror that put atmosphere and plot above action, and the recent remake of this game made it clear that the market is still able to perceive products of this genre. So let me express an unpopular opinion, for which I may be eaten, but which I am ready to defend. Linear games are different, let's figure it out, the modern gaming industry is caressed by examples of diversity or immersion. For example, the same Fallout or Skyrim, this is a bright example of replayability. When these games can be replayed dozens of times, each time choosing something new, somewhere skipping a quest, somewhere killing an NPC, who gives it to subsequently discover something new. This is a bright example of replayability. It is about hundreds of hours and different approaches. In the recent hit called Baldur's Gate 3, you literally mold a character from scratch, creating an appearance that you like, choosing the options that you consider correct, and coming to the outcomes that ultimately resulted from all your choices that you made during the game. The dice element only adds variability, and it feels like the game manages to bypass the previously mentioned games from Bethesda, taken together in terms of variety of role-playing opportunities. In a Mass Effect that many today will no longer remember, your fate literally depends on your words. Across the galaxy, Shepard, drawing with his finger in the air, roughly speaking, decides the fate of his subjects, all living things that surround him. Wow, what a scale, right? And what about linear games? What can they offer against the backdrop of such a great and diverse, hardcore and unattainable, a stone simulator, not bad. Or maybe a fishing simulator. Well, a fish is a fish, not really a fan, or maybe, oh. And what is this? Everything is so pretty, interesting. The sunset is so beautiful. No, cool of course, but where is the turtle? Wow, and what is this? We are looking for a way among the trees with the help of a compass. Why not? And what is this? The plot unfolds in a way I could not imagine. I hastily go to complete the task that I was given once to move further along the plot. An unexpected twist at the end of the game, in fact, really unexpected, and most importantly, I enjoy it. Just now, we briefly reviewed the game Firewatch, which after its release gained great popularity and literally gave impetus to the development of other games made on Unity. This game at the time showed that it is not necessary to have beautiful graphics, a variable plot, and replayability for a project to sink into the soul. Remembered, or another example from the world of horror. SOMA, a toy from frictional games about an underwater station, where you uncover the secrets of the extinction of humanity, questions of consciousness. Despite the elements of horror, there are no choices here, you follow a given path. And the story unfolds through audio recordings in the environment. Is that bad? No, the game leads the player by the hand while simultaneously slipping difficulties in the form of scary mobs and an environment that wants to kill you. Just remember the journey along the bottom of the ocean, where a giant 100-meter fish swims around you in the darkness. Or the dive into the black abyss, which takes place over the course of 5 or 10 minutes. To be honest, I don't remember exactly, and the ending, well. How could you know that if you press all the buttons correctly in Detroit in the fight against Todd while playing as Kara, this will subsequently lead to the fact that he will die, although, for example, I did not want to kill him. I did everything so that Kara would survive. I did not have the goal of killing the latter. But the developer sees it exactly like that, and don't tell me that I should have immediately gone upstairs to Alice, then he would have survived. How could the player know this, or how could you know that if in Disc Elysium you decide to spend the night in the trash, this will lead to the end of the game? That's it, you got a bad ending. An achievement in Steam for now, for you, the player, that's all. And in some games, your choice doesn't affect anything at all. In BioShock Infinite, whether you decide to throw a meatball at people on stage or not, you'll still be stopped, recognized as a false prophet, and hunted. Yes, I know that you can meet them later and they'll thank you. But in the game it's shown as almost a turning point in your morality, which is naturally not the case. In The Walking Dead, will you kill characters or save them? In the end, one way or another, you will have a dying Lee on your hands, whom you will need to either shoot or leave. But even this choice will ultimately lead you to nothing, because Lee simply disappears from the further narrative and a bunch of other examples. When the appearance of variability is just the appearance of variability. Because making a truly variable game is sometimes difficult and takes a very long time to implement. So they often do this for the sake of appearance, and linear games are free of this drawback. You see the game as the scriptwriter intended, without any, maybe, what if this way, what if that way. No, you are given the opportunity to watch the plot in the same form, in which it was originally in the developer's head. If some action happens, it was intended. If some character appears, it means that he should appear right now. If you are on the verge of death, it means that you are doing everything right. As a result, you get the very only option that they wanted to introduce you to. And here is a completely different question. Will you like this plot or not? Here already yes, everything depends on the experience of the scriptwriter. For someone, of course, it will not be enough to just go through the vision of the developer. They need to participate in the gameplay and say that I would have done it differently. They need to always have influence on the plot, such as the fashion today. In films, probably, the ability to change Fraud's actions is important to them, and instead of bringing the ring to the face, they would go with him on a ship on a round-the-world trip together with Gandalf. In the book about Harry Potter, it is probably important to them that after a few pages there is a button with a choice. What will you do next? Go to the Forbidden Forest or stay to hang out with Hermione in Hagrid's hut? Linear projects are stories that authors tell us, and not we tell them. They are not about replayability, but about the fact that you play them once and remember them forever. And not about the atmosphere, like in Little Nightmares, where every sound makes you freeze. They are about emotional depth, like Into the Moon, where you pay over a pixelated old man. They are about narrative integrity, like in SOMA, where questions about life and consciousness hit harder than any choice. And I'm not even talking about the fact that modern players are constantly being pushed hardcore, as a component without which their gaming experience seems to be devalued. Title in carbon monosulfide Go, rank in Dota 2, skill in Valorant, level in Warcraft, characters in Genshin Impact, or even quantity. Each of us once suffered from an obsession to prove that he is not a trembling creature, but a skilled and good player spent hundreds or even thousands of hours pumping up in some game. And of course, this did not happen without emotions, pores, and nervous breakdowns. You spend literally half your life improving your skill, or even just enjoying the game. And as a result, you get to the point that the euphoria of winning the game you will get, God willing, in one of 5 games, and Of course, I am not hinting at anything, but look at what a big fly agaric. By the way, about It Take X2, you know that this game became the game of the year? In 2021, despite its linearity, it was recognized as the best and overtook such dudes as Resident Evil Village and Deathloop. And if we take all the winners of the Game Awards for all years, since 2014, we will find that 4 of them will be linear. And the other 6 will be games with a choice. We will not consider this shit from the ass as the game of the year, that is, 4 against 6. In other words, about the same, which means linear games are still in demand in the future will also be relevant. Not to mention the fact that the creation of such games will often be cheaper than the same analogs with choices, which means that if the studio works hard, then the creation of a good linear hit will only be a matter of time. Actually, we are approaching the fact that mixing games with and without forks is, from my point of view, a mistake. They cannot be compared by the same criteria, attributing the lack of variability in the latter as a minus. Instead, we need to create a second list of requirements to evaluate based on it. I, in turn, am ready to take the initiative and write down these requirements. This could be direction, integrity, richness, and depth. That is, how much the author has thought through his story and what thoughts he decided to fill it with. And only after that can we talk about some objectivity in evaluating games based on their criteria and nothing else. And you know, in the end, I just want to say that linear games are made so that late at night, when you get home, you cook yourself dinner. Sit down at the computer and just relax for the next few hours. You don't have to think about whether you made the right choice, whether you went in the right direction, whether you were doing the right thing, by choosing this option in the dialogues, and what side quest to do next. Instead, you think about what a beautiful world this is, what nice graphics, good characters, what an interesting plot, and what delicious dinner I'm eating right now. Such games are needed because not everyone wants to be a hero who saves the world. Sometimes you just want to hear someone else's story and feel like you're part of it. Linear games aren't a thing of the past or a subgenre. They're the art of telling stories so that you don't just play them, but live them. They prove that choice isn't always the most important thing, sometimes it's enough to just trust the paths that have been laid out for you. So next time you're scrolling through the top games, give something linear a chance, maybe that's where you'll find a story that will stay with you forever. Thanks for watching, and if you listened, please leave a comment. Bye.